If you think the pickup truck market is all about $60,000 monsters with leather seats and touch screens the size of iPads, think again, because right now a silent revolution is underway. 5 automakers, yes, 5 have revealed ultra-cheap, bare-bones, sub-$10,000 pickup trucks. And they're not concept fantasies. They're real, they're coming, and they're about to destroy everything we thought we knew about the truck market. And the first brand leading this shockwave is Toyota, with something that the entire developing world has been begging for. Let's start with the Toyota IMV0. This thing is the spiritual successor to the old Hilux workhorse. Simple, boxy, modular, and engineered with the same drive it for 40 years Toyota DNA. Here's the crazy part. Toyota is positioning it at an $8,000, $10,000 price point in emerging markets. That's right, a Toyota pickup truck cheaper than a used Corolla. And because it's built on Toyota's global IMV platform, it's not a toy. It's a real truck with a ladder frame, diesel option, manual transmission, and a body that can be swapped into whatever you want. Flatbed, cargo box, mini camper, farm truck, military patrol. Toyota literally designed it to be a Lego set for adults. And that affordability? That's Toyota's declaration of war on Chinese budget truck brands. But Toyota isn't the only one dropping bombs. General Motors looked at this trend and said, fine, you want cheap? Watch this. Enter the GM Montana, a compact unibody pickup designed for South America, but its impact is global. GM priced it around $8,000, $12,000, depending on market, and it delivers something nobody expected, the comfort and efficiency of a compact car with the utility of a small truck. It's not trying to tow a house, it's trying to move daily cargo cheaply and efficiently. And in an era of 30-year truck loans, the Montana suddenly became the hero of working families, first-time buyers, and delivery fleets who were done with oversized American trucks that cost more than condos. Then, out of nowhere, Subaru throws its hat back into the pickup ring. Yes, Subaru. And no, this isn't another quirky brat with seats in the bed. Subaru is preparing a next-generation ultra-affordable pickup that follows the same formula. Compact size, rugged simple build, low purchase cost, and a mission to dominate markets where reliability and price matter more than chrome and luxury packages. Subaru knows its audience: outdoorsy buyers, rural markets, adventure fleets, and this truck is their ticket back into a category they left decades ago. And if they hit that magic 8K, 10KE zone with their famed boxer engines and AWD capability, they instantly become the king of budget lifestyle pickups. And while everyone was focusing on new brands, Nissan quietly sharpened its knife with a frontier strategy no one saw coming. Nissan Frontier has always been the budget-friendly workhorse, but now Nissan is taking things even further by preparing a stripped-down, ultra-cheap configuration for developing markets, something that revives everything people loved about old hard-body Datsuns. Simple mechanics, simple pricing, and a mission to undercut Toyota's IMV0 without sacrificing capability. Nissan is chasing that global cheap truck crown with aggressive pricing, and the Frontier platform gives them the perfect foundation. But the biggest surprise, Mazda, a brand known for sporty sedans and crossovers, is preparing a comeback to the pickup world with a simple, rugged, ultra low-cost truck built with one mission: become the world's most affordable brand name pickup. Mazda's engineers are scaling back complexity, reducing electronics, simplifying the powertrain, and building a truck so mechanically basic that mechanics in rural markets can fix it with literal hand tools. Mazda understands that the next big automotive battleground isn't the electric luxury segment, it's the bottom of the pyramid, the global workforce who needs cheap, dependable transportation. And here's the insane part: all 5 of these brands together are flipping the auto industry upside down. After years of price inflation, chicken tax excuses, and oversized models, the world suddenly wants trucks that are small, light, fixable, reliable, and cheap. And these companies realize that whoever controls the sub-10K trucking segment controls the future of global mobility. Because once buyers see an $8,000 truck that can do 80% of what a $50,000 truck can, the entire pricing structure of the auto industry collapses. And that's where the real panic begins. Because these $8,000 trucks aren't just products, they're weapons. Weapons aimed directly at automakers who've spent the last decade turning pickups into luxury status symbols instead of tools. tools. And now, suddenly, the customers who've been priced out for years finally have a way back in. Imagine this. You're a small business owner who's been forced to buy used trucks with 200,000 miles because new ones cost more than your annual revenue. Then Toyota rolls up with an IMV 0 for $8,000. GM throws in a Montana for similar money. Subaru brings a cheap AWD lifestyle truck. Nissan drops a stripped-down Frontier package. Mazda arrives with a fix-it-yourself workhorse. Overnight, the used truck market collapses. Fleet buyers switch instantly. Rural communities finally get brand new vehicles without being financially crushed. This is the kind of industry disruption automakers fear more than electric vehicles. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't want luxury trucks. They want affordable trucks. Trucks that don't come with $200 oil changes or electronic steering systems that need a software update every time you hit a pothole. They want trucks that simply work, and these 5 brands are giving the world exactly that. Think about what this does on a global scale. Governments in Africa, Southeast Asia, South America, and Eastern Europe start replacing outdated fleets with these ultra-cheap pickups. Private contractors suddenly buy 2 trucks instead of 1. Farmers get reliable new vehicles instead of welding patches onto 30-year-old beaters. And for the first time in decades, the automotive industry's power balance begins to shift. Not because of EVs, not because of autonomy, not because of tech, but because 5 companies had the courage to build simple, affordable transportation again. Remote regions, places where people want simplicity, reliability, and AWD capability for camping, trail work, mountain biking, and weekend trips. Subaru wants its truck to be the new cult icon, just like the old Brat, but modernized and priced for real people. Nissan's long-term play is pure legacy. Nissan wants to reclaim its reputation from the hard-body days, back when Datsuns were known as the most indestructible, affordable trucks on Earth. By creating a global budget frontier, Nissan is trying to bring back that glory and rebuild trust in markets where they once dominated but later faded. This is Nissan's chance to remind the world, we built the trucks that never die, and we can do it again. But Mazda's plan might be the boldest of all. They're positioning themselves as the anti-industry brand, the one company willing to reject digital excess, reject overpriced tech, and reject complexity. Their upcoming affordable truck is Mazda's attempt to reset the industry by proving that craftsmanship, driving enjoyment, and rugged simplicity can be offered at a price anyone can afford. Mazda wants to become the people's truck brand, a category that hasn't existed in decades. And here's the shocking part. All 5 strategies intersect at one crucial point: volume power. When you sell trucks this cheap, you don't make your money on the sale itself. You make it on service, accessories, parts, and long-term brand loyalty. These companies are playing the long game. They know that once a customer buys an $8,000 truck and falls in love with the brand, they will buy the next model and the next model and the next model. This is why traditional automakers are terrified, because if Toyota, GM, Subaru, Nissan, and Mazda succeed in creating a new global culture around affordable trucks, then the brands that rely on $60,000 profit-heavy models will be crushed. Not immediately, but inevitably. 5 cheap trucks, 5 different strategies, but one shared outcome: the democratization of the truck market. For the first time in decades, regular people, small businesses, farmers, students, delivery workers, everyone gets access to brand new trucks again. And Mazda just proved you can still build a safe, durable brand name truck for the price of a MacBook. And that revelation is going to haunt corporate boardrooms for years. Imagine being a CEO who spent the last decade telling customers, we have no choice but to raise prices, only for Toyota to unveil a world-class pickup for $8,000. Imagine being a dealership that insisted, trucks are expensive because trucks cost a lot to build, only to have Mazda roll out a simple, rugged chassis that can be repaired with basic tools. The excuses evaporate, the trust breaks, the entire narrative collapses, and that brings us to the next phase of this revolution, the domino effect. Once these trucks dominate developing markets, Western automakers will have 2 choices: adapt or die. Because the moment consumers in the US, Canada, Europe, and Australia see that brand new trucks can be this affordable overseas, they will demand the same at home. Politicians will get involved, media will start asking uncomfortable questions, advocacy groups will go after price gouging, gouging. Suddenly, the entire structure of the modern truck market becomes unstable. This is the same type of disruption we saw when compact Japanese cars invaded America in the 1970s. Back then, Detroit laughed at small cars until they weren't laughing anymore. Today, Detroit laughs at cheap trucks. And history is about to repeat itself, because here's the truth: the world doesn't need more $70,000 luxury pickups pretending to be family SUVs. The world needs real trucks: work trucks, utility trucks, affordable trucks, simple trucks. And these 5 brands understood that before anyone else. But things are about to take an even more explosive turn, because as these ultra cheap trucks rise, the EV industry, the mid-size segment, and even the global parts market are about to face consequences nobody is prepared for. Electric vehicle companies are already sounding alarms behind closed doors. Because let's be honest, EV trucks are expensive, batteries are expensive, charging infrastructure is expensive, and when a brand new Toyota IMV Zero costs 1/10 the price of an electric pickup, millions of buyers will simply opt out of the EV transition altogether. Governments can offer incentives, companies can advertise all they want, but nothing competes with an $8,000 price tag. And that's the nightmare scenario for EV startups. Think about it. Why would a small business owner pay $55,000 for an electric truck with limited range and expensive repairs, when Toyota, Nissan, or Mazda will sell them a simple gasoline or diesel workhorse for a fraction of the cost? The answer is, they won't. And that forces EV companies into a corner where they either slash prices, shrink margins, or abandon the truck segment entirely. The midsize truck segment is also in danger. Trucks like the Ford Ranger, Tacoma, Colorado, and Amarok have spent years creeping into the $40,000 range. But when buyers in emerging markets see that a brand new GM Montana or Mazda pickup gives them 80% of the utility at 25% of the cost, midsize trucks suddenly look overpriced, oversized, and unnecessary. That global pressure trickles upward. Automakers won't be able to justify bloated pricing when the world is buying trucks that cost less than a set of chrome wheels on a full-size model. And then there's the global parts and repair market. Ultra-cheap trucks are built to be serviced, not replaced. That means more independent garages, more aftermarket demand, more small businesses, and a revival of local mechanical trades. For years, cars have been moving towards sealed electronics and dealer-only repairs. These trucks reverse that trend. They bring the industry back to simplicity, accessibility, and affordability. But the biggest impact? The psychological shift. Once consumers realize that a truck doesn't need to be a luxury item, that it doesn't need touchscreens, complicated safety modules, or 500 horsepower, everything changes. The illusion breaks, the hype dies, and the auto industry loses its favorite tool: price manipulation. You can already see this unfolding in online communities. Farmers, workers, off-roaders, tradespeople, all asking the same question: why can't we get these cheap trucks here? And the pressure is growing. Because once people see how global markets are benefiting from these low-cost models, Western buyers will demand the same. Car enthusiasts are excited, industry analysts are nervous, shareholders are terrified, because they know what's coming: a complete restructuring of the global truck market. And once these $8,000 pickups start hitting volume production, once they flood international roads, once they prove themselves as durable, reliable, and capable, the ripple effects will be unstoppable. But here's where the story really ignites, because each of these 5 brands has a secret long-term strategy behind these cheap trucks. A strategy that goes far beyond simple affordability. A strategy that could reshape not just the truck segment, but the entire automotive world for the next decade. Toyota's long-term plan with the IMV Zero isn't just to sell a cheap truck, it's to create a global modular platform that can be adapted into hundreds of variations. Think of it as the Land Cruiser for the masses. Toyota wants governments, NGOs, militaries, rural businesses, and small fleets to build entire operations around this one chassis. Need an ambulance? Swap a box. Need a cargo hauler? Swap a bed. Need a minibus? Swap a cabin. Toyota is trying to dominate the low-cost utility market the same way it dominated sedans in the 90s. GM's strategy with the Montana is different. They're trying to own urban utility, compact truck, car-like comfort, low operating cost, perfect for delivery services, rideshare cargo, gig workers, and city contractors. GM knows the future of big cities isn't giant pickup trucks, it's small, nimble, efficient haulers. By positioning the Montana as the global city truck, GM is setting itself up to become the Amazon, Uber, and FedEx favorite across multiple continents. Subaru's master plan is lifestyle domination. For years, Subaru owners begged the brand to bring back a small adventure pickup, and now, with the wave of ultra-cheap trucks emerging, Subaru sees the perfect chance. Their goal isn't to compete with work trucks, it's to own the entry-level outdoors market, mountain towns, beach communities. Meanwhile, Chinese automakers who dominated the budget truck space for years are now under threat. Toyota, Nissan, Mazda, GM, and Subaru flooding the market with sub-10K pickups is like dropping a bomb on every emerging market brand that relied on low-cost manufacturing as their competitive edge. Suddenly, brand name reliability costs the same as a no-name copycat, and that instantly changes buyer behavior. Dealers love it because the trucks are easy to sell. Mechanics love it because the trucks are easy to repair. Customers love it because they can finally afford them, and the industry hates it because it exposes a decade of price inflation that was never really about cost. It was about corporate greed. And this is only the beginning, because once these trucks hit global markets in full force, we're going to see something the modern auto industry hasn't experienced in years: a race to the bottom, a pricing war. Companies will be forced to cut margins, shrink profit per vehicle, and rethink the entire luxury pickup model. Ford, Ram, and Chevrolet in the US will not be able to ignore this movement forever. If Toyota proves people will buy a brand new truck for $8,000, what happens to the $50,000 F-150 XL? What happens to the mid-sized trucks that now start at $40K? What happens to the dealership sitting on lots full of inventory nobody can afford? This is the kind of shift that ends business models, the kind of shift that turns billion-dollar segments into clearance aisles. And the scary part? Every one of these brands is planning expansion, more variants, more trims, more markets, more production lines. Toyota is already testing additional IMV0 body styles: long bed, short bed, double cab, troop carrier, even electric and hybrid variants for markets that demand them. GM is exploring Montana spin-offs, including a cargo-focused fleet version that could dominate urban delivery services. Subaru is reportedly evaluating an off-road package because they know their buyers want a tiny, cheap adventure truck that can conquer muddy trails without needing $3,000 worth of dealer-installed accessories. Nissan is mapping out production in more low-cost regions to scale Frontier availability, and Mazda, quietly but very deliberately, is talking to suppliers about keeping costs brutally low while still delivering that signature Mazda driving feel. Every one of these manufacturers is looking at the same target: global emerging markets and the millions of buyers who want a new vehicle but can't afford modern prices. And the moment they all realized the profit didn't have to come from the truck itself, but from volume, parts, accessories, and long-term brand loyalty, everything changed. Because once those trucks start selling in the millions across Asia, Africa, South America, and parts of Europe, the numbers get scary. For competitors, at least. Big automakers who've relied on oversized profit margins to please shareholders suddenly have to compete with trucks priced lower than their optional wheel packages. Luxury brands that mocked small trucks will have to rethink their strategies. And Chinese automakers, already dealing with political pressure in global markets, will find their biggest advantage suddenly evaporating. And here's the twist: these $8,000 trucks don't just disrupt the pickup segment, they disrupt everything. Insurance becomes cheaper, maintenance becomes cheaper, financing becomes accessible again, used car prices collapse as buyers switch to new, inexpensive options, ride-sharing fleets pivot, delivery companies replace vans with compact trucks, even global infrastructure, roads, bridges, parking, benefits because lighter, smaller trucks create less wear and take up less space. It's the butterfly effect that nobody in the auto industry saw coming. While everyone else was busy chasing EV fantasies, overstuffed dashboards, and subscription-based heated seats, 5 companies decided to build something simple, honest, and useful, something that regular people actually need. And that brings us to the most important question: what happens when these trucks reach North America and Europe? Because make no mistake, they will. The demand is too strong, the economics are too irresistible, and the brand loyalty these trucks will generate globally will force automakers to consider importing them, adapting them, or building similar models locally. And once that happens, the entire market collapses into a new equilibrium, one where affordability finally returns, and truck buyers no longer need 7-year loans just to haul plywood. But this story gets even crazier, because behind the scenes, governments, suppliers, and fleet operators are already preparing for a world where ultra-cheap trucks become the default choice. Governments are quietly running projections showing how these ultra-cheap trucks could revitalize rural economies, boost small business formation, and reduce dependency on aging, unsafe vehicles. In countries across Africa and Southeast Asia, ministries of transportation are already drafting incentive programs because these trucks are far easier to maintain, cheaper to fuel, and dramatically safer than the 25-year-old imports most people rely on today. Suppliers are scrambling too. Parts manufacturers love this shift because simple trucks mean higher volumes of affordable components. Brakes, suspension, body panels, interior trim, no LiDAR sensors, no over-engineered electronics, no complicated driver assist systems that cost more than the truck itself. Just real, physical parts that factories can produce by the millions. This is the kind of demand boom that can reshape entire industrial regions. Fleet companies are quietly reorganizing budgets. A delivery company that used to replace 100 trucks every 10 years can now afford to replace twice as many vehicles twice as often.